It's so strange to me because, so many people are easy and eager to give up their rights no matter what they are. And it's so funny to me because we're almost into 2026 and people are just like, digital, that's the future. Why fight it? Right? Like, this is actual statements that I've heard before. Oh, you don't really own the physical, and you don't really own the physical stuff anyway. You need to, download a patch, an update, this, that, the other thing. Like, so many people argue these points. They're just quick to give up and not own anything. Oh, streaming, that'll be the future. We won't even have consoles in the future. Right? Can you imagine? Let me ask you this as gamer to gamer and take off the fanboy stuff. If you dislike me, whatever, just take this question as a question. Would you pay $70 to $100 for a video game that you could only stream through a streaming service? $70 to $100, because games are getting expensive, right? Would you pay that much for this? I can't imagine that somebody's out there raising their hand saying that they would pay $70, $80, $90, $100, whatever the case may be, just for the right to stream these games and not be able to take them anywhere or anything like that. Because let's be real, like, even if you've tried streaming and you think it's the bee's knees, you've probably played it under certain conditions where you're right next to your router and you've got like gigabit internet and all this kind of stuff. You're not going to be able to take that stuff on the go. You know what I'm saying? People go, well, 5G is all over the place. It's up and down. So it's really hard to kind of be able to kind of keep at a steady performance. And so your games are going to lack in that instance. And so, for me anyway, like, I don't like the way that Microsoft is kind of handling this and the way that they've kind of handled the exclusive situation. People are just like, oh, well, who needs exclusives? Like, Xbox fans went from with the the Xbox One era, right? They turned to, oh, we're not going to buy it. It's got DRM. You've got the check-in. You can't share it. You can't buy used games. You can't trade your games. You can't do this. It's forcing Connect. It's forcing this. It's doing that. So you went from being outraged about all that stuff to just being okay with, hey, raising the price of the console twice in 4 months, raising the price of Game Pass, twice in 9 months, right? Like, and now it's like, oh, well, we don't want exclusives either. It's fine. Like, how can people just be okay with losing all the experiences that make Xbox? So it's really crazy to me. And then, like, when people call out this stuff or mention that these type of things matter, I think that's when people start to really get concerned and they really kind of get upset and stuff like that. And so it's funny because Mikey Barra is some reason super controversial now, even though he used to work at Microsoft, and people are just quick to hate on the guy and go, oh, well, you're just hating on Xbox because, they fired you, blah, 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 which a quick search shows that he left Xbox twice. And I think probably one of the reasons is, he really wanted to kind of fight or whatever, and Microsoft just had no interest in fighting. They want to do what they want to do, and, you're not going to be able to go out there and kind of do anything different, which is, unfortunate, and if you wanted to be competitive, you're going to go there. Imagine you're a football player, for instance, right? And, would you go to a team that repeatedly says they can't win and they're no good and they're not going to be able to outdo this or outdo that, or would you want to go someplace that actually wants to win? I think it's kind of an easy question. But Mikey Barra saw that the PlayStation 5 and the Pro was being cut by $100 on Black Friday, and Mikey Barra says, time for me to snag a Pro, and somebody responded, don't you have a 5090? And he says, it doesn't play new PlayStation exclusives and I don't like waiting. Imagine that. Exclusives drive people to buy consoles, which is, again, it's a shot at Microsoft, but I think that it's an apt one at that. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell that, he really, really understands how the industry works. And for me anyway, you kind of look at these things, how people kind of how they've kind of interested in doing business or whatever. But it's like, if you have something, you try to do it the best as you can. You try to make it something that people want. And it's just a shame to me that that it's kind of happening the way that it is, and it doesn't seem like Microsoft is necessarily supporting their own platform. So again, I hope that they go out there and they change things up and they get things kind of, in a way that is supportive of the fans and shows what they're saying, because anybody can say anything, right? You can sit there and say, oh, I love this, but if you're not actually actively showing it with more than just words, then why should anybody believe you, right? That's like the thing that I would kind of point out is Microsoft is saying the right things, right? We care about our core consumers. We love the console. We know people love the console. That's our one of our focal points. But then when you look at what they're doing, their advertising is all for everything but console. And when they do any kind of deals or anything, there's no deals for the console. It's a bit of a shame. It's a shame that these things happen. And the way that I look at it is, Microsoft has kind of put their own fans in such a bad situation that it's hard to believe, that it's kind of happening, and I hope that we can see, a world where they go more all in on the hardware, or at least stop acting like, like you hate the hardware, because it just feels like they actually don't care for the hardware at all anymore, and that's a real shame. I honestly don't understand how they could be so kind of heartless to the fans and things like that have supporting them through the years. And I would love to see them kind of prove me wrong. Listen, trust me, it's a burden being right all the time, right? It's a burden. Like, people, believe it or not, people will still bring up a tweet from a decade ago between me and Phil Spencer talking about, canceling my pre-order for for Quantum Break. And why did I cancel it, ladies and gentlemen? Because you don't advertise something as exclusive for 3 years and then 3 weeks prior to launch say, okay, well, it's also coming to this other platform. I think that's disingenuous and that is wrong. And he even admitted that he was wrong. And I also said, this is going to completely kill your platform, right? It's going to really completely kill your platform, and people aren't going to buy your console. People aren't going to. It makes your games less special too, because games are always when you look at how games are right, like, let's just look at games, okay, for an instance. People ask often, I see, like, even though it's not one of the better Halos, but they go, well, why isn't Halo 5 Guardians on PC? Because they built that specifically for console. And what happens when you build a game for console, specifically, and the controller and stuff like that, it's like, and the way that it's built, it's a certain thing about it that makes it special, and I think you can tell that because when the Gears of War games, right, were kind of like that, and that's why Gears of War never took off on PC, because it's really sort of set to console. It's really kind of a thing for console to do, and so it's crazy to me that these things have kind of changed the way that they have, where people don't realize that there's a difference between the two. And if you make things, if you have to keep everything into in your mind when you're building these games, then you're not going to get a game that's unique for that platform or anything. I think that's why, whether you hate PlayStation or not, they don't give a crap about PC when they're developing their games, especially their single player games. And they've even said it. They're like, we don't care. Like, if they're going to come to PlayStation later, we don't know, but we're going to focus on making it the best for the hardware that's PlayStation. And that's the best thing that you could do. You don't got to worry about somebody's weak potato PC or whatever else, or somebody else's weak like, say, the Series S or whatever. You're focusing on your own hardware, the capabilities of that, and you can take full advantage of that. That's why the games that they've done have taken full advantage of that, and that's a good thing, right? And then when you look at the Xbox stuff, like, nothing that they've ever done, like, why do you think the Xbox Series X, which is more powerful by a lot technically than a base PS5, but why do you think, like, the PS5 exclusives, the single player stuff, look better than anything Microsoft put out? Because Microsoft's putting out everything that has to work on a PC and a Series S too. And I'm not even knocking the Series S. I think it's a fine little console, but they'd be ignorant to think that it's not something that holds back the graphical capabilities and even some of the game capabilities of the other platforms. So we have to kind of sit there and just accept that, I guess, you know. I really do hope that they get it right, though, whatever they're doing, and they don't give up. It's like Microsoft has given up back-to-back generations. Are they going to continue to get people to invest with what they're doing since they're giving up all that time? I don't know. I'm not sure. So anyway, let me know what you guys think down below. Rack 'em up, Crap Gamer.